Greetings again, folks. This is video 2. In the last video, we left off talking about how practically all religions and spiritualities have some version of talking to and communicating with multiple spirits, be they demons, jinn, devils, angels, fairies, mermaids, whatever they are, entities of some sort that are, as we said in the last video, occult, meaning hidden from most people. Now me, I have, I want to say exceptional, but I think I do. I have the potential to have really good clairaudience and clairvoyance. Okay, so clairaudience is when you can hear the hidden world. You can hear things talk to you. You can hear voices in your head or projected out into the room. Like Moses or anybody else, or Joan of Arc, anybody else who lots of spiritual characters, revolutionaries and leaders and important people in history and other spiritualities and religions have heard voices, and based on tests and various things that they would do to find out if the voices were legitimate, then they would act on those voices and change the course of history. Now, I know some of you out there still don't believe, and you're going to be like, well, that could just be a problem with your brain. Maybe you just have a chemical imbalance or a mental. We're not even going to go there. So if you're watching this video, we're assuming that you're able to set aside whatever it is that you think and have an open mind, and then we're going to start this whole video under the premise that spirits do exist and people can talk to them, and there can be two-way communication, and there frequently is. Also, we are starting with the premise that spirits, entities and whatnot, and spirit animals, spirit guides, what have you, will come to people that they are protecting to give messages that will help these people in their life mission or just in their survival. So, for a class project, I had to write a report on a journey that I had, and I'm not sure if this is in the last video or if it got cut off. Journey, just so that you know, is where you close your eyes, you kind of go into this semi-hypnotic meditative state. Generally there's a drum that's beating in time, and then you talk to you journey. It's called the journey because you go somewhere in your mind but out of your body. You go to this other place. Some people would think, oh, I'm just imagining it, but in a lot of cases where people think they're imagining things, which was certainly the case with me, you aren't imagining it. You are actually experiencing another world, but it's just that your physical reality is more real to you. So your brain, I got a sore there, your brain categorizes things, the other realities, as less real. That's just because of your, like I said, your experience. As your experience changes, I would postulate that you will start to categorize both worlds as equally real. And I say both, but it could be multiple. Even science has a multi-dimensional theory. So let's go back to we were talking about journey. So I was on a journey, and it was one of the first. It was like the first or second one. I think it was the second one I did in class. And again, that's a Celtic shamanism class, where anybody who's done their research knows that shamanism, even though shaman's been a word that's been applied to Native American spirituality, Native Americans never used the word shaman. That was a word that was superimposed on their tradition, and it comes from indigenous European term. In fact, some think it comes from North European, like the Laplanders, like the Sami Laplanders. I forgot what it means, but I can look it up real quick. I had a buddy that tried to tell me shaman meant sham man, and I didn't want to tell him bullshit without looking it up, but I did my research. And so what you do is you go to etymology and then type in the word shaman, and it comes up and it says it's probably from Tungus, S-A-M-A-N, and then the A is pronounced like an H, or the S is pronounced like an SH. So then if we go to Wikipedia, let's see what Wikipedia says. Wikipedia says shamanism is a practice that involves a practitioner reaching altered states of consciousness in order to encounter and interact with the spirit world and channel these transcendental energies into this world. A shaman is a person regarded as having access to and influence in the world of benevolent and malevolent spirits, who typically enters into a trance state during a ritual and practices divination and healing. And divination is kind of like prediction or finding stuff, because you can divine where water is using dowsing sticks, or you can divine somebody's future. So divining is basically just finding things with God's help, or help of the gods. So it says the term shamanism was first applied to the ancient religion of the Turks and Mongols, as well as those of the neighboring Tungusic and Samoyedic speaking peoples. The word shaman originates from the Tungusic Evenki language of North Asia and was introduced to the West after Russian forces conquered the shamanistic Khanate of Kazan in 1552. Upon learning more about religious traditions across the world, Western scholars also describe similar magico-religious practices found within the ethnic religions of other parts of Asia, Africa, Australasia, and the Americas as shamanism. Various historians have argued that shamanism also played a role in many of the pre-Christian religions in Europe, and that shamanic elements may have survived in popular culture right through to the early modern period. Various archaeologists and historians of religion have also suggested that shamanism may have been a dominant pre-religious practice for humanity during the Paleolithic. Okay, so in a nutshell, shamanism comes from the same place Attila the Hun comes from, the steppes of Mongolia and Eastern Russia. All right. Well, now that we've got that, dealt with, we know that it's not a Native American term. It's not a white people term that has anything to do with the word sham. And just for giggles, let's go see where the word sham comes from. Etymology, sham. Not shaman, sham. Sham. Sham, Northern English, late 17th century, perhaps a Northern English dialect version of the noun shame. Okay. So let's check it. Merriam-Webster. Okay, let's try Merriam-Webster. That seems to be pretty accurate usually. Sham, something that is not what it appears to be, that is meant to trick or deceive people. Someone who deceives people by pretending to be a particular kind of person, to have a particular skill, etc. Words or actions that are not sincere or honest. A trick that deludes, hoax, blah, 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 blah. Okay, but what's the etymology? First known use 1677. Perhaps from English dialect sham, shame, alteration of English shame. So, it is possible that sham, being a word that has come into being essentially after the word shaman, that maybe there were people who were pretending to be shamans, just like snake oil salesmen pretend to sell a cure when really all it is alcohol and some poison or something, and maybe some berries. Maybe it's the other way around from what my friend said. Instead of shaman being a word that's composed of sham and man, maybe sham is an abbreviation, a slang for, at the time, somebody who pretended to be a shaman, who charged money, like the same way psychics, people who pretend to be psychics and charge money, as a business. And don't get me wrong, that's not saying that real psychics can't make money, doing their work. But there's a lot of people, when you have a situation where all you have to do is be creative or an actor, con artists essentially, who will take advantage of that and set up shop and milk people for their gullibility, which also ends up giving the actual psychics, or in this case shamans, a bad name. Now again, this is just my theory, because what I'm seeing right now online isn't very robust in the origins of sham. It essentially says we don't know where it came from. This is when it was first used, 1681 or 16. Actually, one of these says 1677 and one of these says 1681. But it seems to be an agreement that it was after Columbus discovered the New World and after when did the Pilgrims land? When did Pilgrims come to America? Okay, so 1620 was when they set sail on the Mayflower. Let's see, when and where the Mayflower of the Pilgrim Voyage 1620 was built is not known. Blah, blah, blah. Site near Mayflower. Mayflower was a ship, blah, 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 blah. History, 1570, 1603 to 1625. Voyage, here we go. Mayflower arrived inside the tip of Cape Cod fishhook, 11 November 1620. Okay, so if the Mayflower arrived in 1620, then that means within about 40 or 50 years was the first time the word sham was heard. So I would say it's a good case for either one, as a possibility of saying that the word sham comes from the word shaman, and specifically from people who set up shop as shamans but who were just con men. And the other possibility is that it comes from the word shame, and that could be an easy derivation in the sense of, well, that's a damn shame. Ain't that man? Those guys are just robbing people left and right. They should be ashamed of themselves. That's a shame. And then eventually it gets turned into, yeah, that's a sham. Don't mess with that. That's a sham right there. You know, those guys are all sham. So I can see either of those lineages, let's say. All right, it's 15 minutes. Wow, I can't believe it's that long. I'm going to stop this video and we're going to start the next one because I still haven't got to what I want to tell y'all. I'm sure you guys are curious.